The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRCMedia, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
This week on FRCmedia News, the focus on Fall River's homeless problem became heightened this week following a man who succumbed to the cold weather. St. Anne's Hospital and SouthCoast Health are working to assess the health needs of the South Coast, and state sheriffs clarify their role in the apprehension of undocumented migrants. All this and more coming up. It's Thursday, February 27th, 2025. This is FRC Media News. I'm Keith Tebow. How Fall River deals with the homeless has once again been put front and center. It all began last week when the body of 59-year-old Jamie Cordero was discovered outside a mill on Globe Mills Avenue in the city's south end. Mr. Cordero was found to have died due to exposure to the winter weather. He was deemed homeless, yet not identified as such by city officials. Debate began last weekend on social media, pointing the blame for Mr. Cordero's death either on the city or Stepping Stone Incorporated, operators of Fall River's primary emergency shelter, the First Step Inn. The shelter, which hosts 50 beds during the winter, was being accused of not opening up additional space at its location on Durfee Street during excessive winter weather. The debate extended to this week's City Council meeting as a number of residents let their feelings known on the issue. Sarah Reed, who volunteers with others to provide food and supplies to the homeless, said the problem is multifaceted.
You become homeless when your wages have stagnated, while you're expected to pay at least $1,500 a month for tiny apartments that are in terrible condition. You become homeless when your zoning doesn't allow for more affordable homes to be built, and corporations keep buying up all of the properties to raise the rent or just sit on empty properties to make a profit when the market peaks again. A rise in homelessness is a sign of collapse. I don't want to see the city that I grew up in and love being an example of collapse. I want us to thrive, and until we stabilize rent, build more affordable housing, and help people get into and stay in housing that they can afford to live in, this problem is only going to get worse. We will only continue to waste time and resources on Band-Aid solutions if we don't focus on stopping the crisis where it starts. And more of our neighbors will end up outside and to die in the cold, just like Jamie Cordero and so many others. May they rest in peace.
City Councilor Linda Pereira filed a resolution seeking answers to allegations that Stepping Stone is not doing more to help the homeless.
And I think that when somebody goes into a shelter, I've heard things that I wonder if that's taking away a person's right. You can't bring your cell phone in. Or you have to put it somewhere. You have to show an ID. You have to do a breathalyzer. You have to be out by such a time, in by such a time. If somebody is pregnant, they can't go to a shelter. I don't know what all of the laws are over getting licensed for a shelter, but then to hear that many people that are at that shelter are really in different beds, not a shelter bed. For somebody to be there 300, 600 days, over 1,000 days, they're there for years. Well, then why are we paying for X amount of shelter beds when we're not even getting those shelter beds if people are staying there?
City Councilor Cliff Ponte says he was dismayed by the negative discourse over the weekend, saying no city can end homelessness and Fall River continues to do more than most. He wants to examine the issue in an objective, professional manner.
I'm coming from a very open perspective here. Perspective number one, we need to find the facts. like my colleague in seat 1 and my colleague in seat 8 and the sponsor of the resolution is trying to get to. Let's find out the facts. But let's not get lost with this terrible, terrible situation that occurred of a loss of life, to not recognize what we have done and we need to continue to improve on. But they have some serious questions to answer, but that's not the only nonprofit that's getting funding. There's others. So if we're going to do this with just stepping stone, we should bring them all to the table. We should have a dialogue with every single one of them to find out where the efficiencies are.
Mayor Paul Coogan says he has met with leaders at Stepping Stone this week, and assurances have been made by the organization that it will cooperate with the city to expand its services to the homeless.
I think our partnership with Stepping Stone is going to get stronger. I think they're doing what they need to do now to work with the city at a much higher, more productive level, and I'm confident going forward that they're going to be an active partner in all the things that go on at the city. It always seemed like, you know, Stepping Stone is obviously our main and our first prime homeless shelter in the city, but they kind of held back sometimes on getting engaged with our homeless coalition, which still has regular meetings, with our outreach workers that go into the camps. Their outreach worker was not traveling with them. These are the things we focused on in the just in the day-to-day mechanics of how a homeless shelter works, and I think that that's important. And I left today that meeting very, very positive about what's going to happen going forward, and Stepping Stone is ready to, you know, obviously they do a very solid job with what they do, but they're willing to take it up a few notches, which is good for the city.
We did seek comment from Stepping Stone earlier this week, but were unable to make a connection. St. Anne's Hospital in Fall River hosted dozens of local community partners seeking input on how it can improve delivering health care on the South Coast as part of its every 3-year Community Health Needs Assessment. Tracy Ibbotson, Director of Community Health Benefits at St. Anne's Hospital, says the event is a key step to identifying improvements to community health care.
An event like today is helpful because it's really in follow-up to our electronic key informant survey that we sent out. And this is like a next step. It's to share back with our key informants what we found, and then to try to go a little deeper. As you saw, some of the data that we look at in health data is a little dated, so we get more current commentary and feedback and insight from the practitioners and the folks who are doing the work boots on the ground. So that's very important to the process, because we need to continually looking at emerging trends, new issues coming forth, while we also look at the hard data, the quantitative data, like the health status and the numbers of poverty and those kinds of socio-demographic characteristics that affect health much greater than just really health care itself.
The hospital's data will be shared with SouthCoast Health, operators of Charlton Memorial Hospital in Fall River, which is also in the process of its Community Health Needs Assessment. Allie Lebert, Manager of Community Health and Wellness for SouthCoast Health, says the sharing of the data collected will limit the duplication of efforts.
What this does is it makes it easier for our community to access those resources, to be aware of what's going on, and then to also have a central location where it all is. A lot of the feedback that we do get from our community partners or people that we interview is, I've already done this, you know, so-and-so came to me last week and asked me these questions, but what are you doing about it? This is that united effort of different agencies coming together that do these reports, either are required regulatory or do them because they believe that it's important for their organization. But moving that forward, instead of each doing it individually, we pool our resources to do it together. It helps the agencies themselves work together, be collaborative, and then reach more people. And hopefully, by doing this work together, it improves outcomes overall.
The data shared at the community meeting pointed out many of the obstacles facing South Coast residents in living healthier lives, such as income and housing insecurity, and battling mental health and substance abuse disorders. The data also highlighted the many strengths possessed by the regional health organizations.
The key respondents reported a real strength was access to care. And I think that speaks to the work that our health systems do and the work we're doing here today to continue to try to understand what the needs of our communities are. I think that our human service agencies and access to food pantries and soup kitchens and clothing and other emergency needs. I think we do a really great job here in Fall River, and it's really on the backs of our community partners like the United Way organizing the region-wide winter coat drive and distributing 1,300 plus coats to families and children in need directly. So we have a lot of strengths and a lot of, like Ali said too, it's us using this information to share with our community partners.
Ms. Ibbotson says data collection will continue over the next few months with opportunities for the community at large to offer input. The final Community Health Needs Assessment report is slated to be released in early fall. Students at Diamond Regional Vocational Technical High School were placed on a lockdown for a short time late yesterday morning. School officials received an anonymous tip alleging a student mentioned having a firearm. No weapon was displayed. Police were called to the school, conducted an interview with the student and the one who filed the complaint. The incident was resolved and school was released on time for what was a half day of classes yesterday. 1 month after President Donald Trump instituted executive orders of deportation for criminal undocumented migrants, local law enforcement, including the 14 sheriffs across Massachusetts, say they have limited authority to assist Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, agents. This past week, sheriffs across the country were alerted to over 700,000 ICE administrative arrest warrants that may involve inmates at county jails. Bristol County Sheriff Paul Heroux says despite the perception of some residents sympathetic to the president, state and local law enforcement are prohibited from arresting individuals of interest to ICE.
They see the badge, they think that we should be out there arresting people who are immigration violators, illegal immigrants, undocumented, we're all talking about the same people. But they think we should be out there doing the arrests. The federal government doesn't want us doing that. ICE has told me that they do not want us going out and doing their job. And rightly so. We're not trained or deputized to do their job. ICE wants to do their job. They don't want anybody getting in the way of that, and I appreciate that. But it's not just ICE that doesn't want us doing this. The National Sheriff's Association, the Massachusetts Sheriff's Association, the Massachusetts Chiefs of Police, all are on the same page. We shouldn't be enforcing federal immigration. And not only that, but if people would look at Arizona versus the United States, 2012, the Supreme Court decision, that's when the Supreme Court told Arizona, and therefore all the other 49 states, you're not allowed to enforce federal immigration laws, and you're not allowed to make up your own immigration laws either. That was the U.S. Supreme Court says that states are not allowed to do it.
Sheriff Heroux says his office is allowed to share information with ICE agents to see if inmates at the county jail have any outstanding warrants. There are 10 inmates out of the 760 currently housed at the House of Correction in Dartmouth that have ICE warrants issued against them.
So we work with ICE every day. We send ICE a list of all of our new admissions every morning that we've received in the last 24 hours. So ICE gets a new list every single day from us, and that list has all of our new admits, and then ICE goes through the new admissions, and it's probably about 10 or 15 a day at this jail, and then ICE will determine whether or not somebody should have an ICE detainer. So they would flag that person, and then we would tell them when that person is going to be discharged if they're sentenced. So that way ICE can be here to pick up that person who's an immigration violator when the person is discharged. If somebody is awaiting trial, we will let ICE know that that person can post bail any moment. So ICE better get here to pick them up before they post bail, because once the person posts bail, we're not allowed to hold them. And that's basically federal law, and it's also state Supreme Court ruling in Lund versus Commonwealth.
The sheriff says he respects federal law enforcement and the work they provide within local communities, and if called upon, will support them in any legal capacity.
ICE has not asked us to assist in any raids. If ICE asked us to assist in any raids, we'd have to see what our staffing levels are, because we have to put the needs of the organization first, because I have to properly staff the jail here, because we have 650 or 670 inmates here. So we have to make sure of that first. But that isn't something that we have been involved with, and it's also not something that I know any other sheriff's office is currently involved with in Massachusetts. But there are, there's 351 municipalities in Massachusetts, so ICE may ask for the support from different municipalities. To my knowledge, they haven't done that, but the important thing is that we do cooperate with ICE. We're in a position to give ICE information. We do information sharing every day. We tell them the status of the inmates we have, and then if one of those inmates is here illegally, undocumented, we're going to let them know, and they can come and take that person away. We're not going to get in their way of doing that.
When SouthCoast Rail launches later next month, riders will be the beneficiaries of free service during the opening month of operation. Governor Maura Healey and the MBTA have announced that until the end of April, riders will ride free on weekends and receive free parking 7 days a week as long as spaces are available. The weekday one-way rate is $12.25. When the free weekend service expires, weekend rates will be $10 for unlimited rides. Parking is set at $4 a day on weekdays and $2 a day on weekends. Plans are to begin service on March 24th. The official SouthCoast Rail schedule for Fall River is expected to be released soon. Over 400 seniors were on hand last week at the Venus de Milo restaurant for a free luncheon and presentation sponsored by Bristol County District Attorney Tom Quinn and the U.S. Attorney's Office in Boston on how to avoid becoming a victim of scams, fraud, and abuse.
Protecting our seniors from fraud and abuse has been a priority of mine for the past decade that I've been the district attorney. I spoke to the acting U.S. attorney in June at our celebration of seniors. We talked about partnering for an event. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Boston has a unit that goes out and discusses elder fraud and provides helpful information to combat it. So we have partnered with them to bring this message to our seniors here. There'll be representatives from the U.S. Attorney's Office, IRS, and the FBI here to discuss various aspects of it. So this just continues my approach to trying to make our seniors as informed as possible to avoid scams. We don't want to embarrass anybody. It's not their fault, but we're just trying to provide information so that they do not become victims and have their hard-earned money taken from them by these thieves and con artists.
D.A. Quinn says criminals often play upon the vulnerabilities of seniors in attempting to trick them into taking action that is not in their best interests.
There's a grandparent scam where they'll call up and say your grandchild is in jail or has been in an accident, money's needed to get them out of jail or pay a victim. There's a romance scam where people somehow ingratiate themselves to somebody and end up getting money, substantial amounts of money in some cases. And various computer scams, you need the money put in your bank account, free gift cards, and artificial intelligence is changing it because false information is being put out to lure people into giving the money, making it sound like it is a family member. So they're going to keep adapting. The technology is a big problem. While it is good in many areas, it's causing a lot of problems because they can access people, whether it's text messages, computer, cell phone calls, landline calls. So you've got to have discipline, should be talking to people you don't know.
The District Attorney's Office holds its annual celebration of seniors every June, connecting seniors to over 70 vendors that provide services to the elderly. We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center. Custodian, Massachusetts Trial Court, located at 186 South Main Street, seeks a full-time custodian, responsible for custodial and janitorial services at the courthouse. Job number 221-91521. Specimen Accessioner, Sonic Healthcare USA, located at 1822 North Main Street, is looking for a full-time specimen accessioner, responsible for the receiving, processing, and documenting of biological specimens in a laboratory setting. Job number 221-86403. Emergency room technician. St. Anne's Hospital, located at 795 Middle Street, is seeking a full-time emergency room technician, responsible for coordinating patient care activities for all emergency room patients. Job number 221-91706. Janitorial associate. Walmart, located at 638 Quikasham Street, is looking for a full-time janitorial associate. For more information, call 508-730-2677. Mechanics Cooperative Bank, located at 60 Bedford Street, has an immediate need for the following full and part-time positions. Personal banker, job number 221-76971. Universal teller, job number 221-76973. For more information about these or other positions, visit Mass Hire JobQuest at jobquest.dcs.eol.mass.gov or call the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
It's time once again to get a checkup on what's happening in terms of Fall River real estate and development. I'm joined, as I am most weeks, by Kevin Lawrence. He's the owner, publisher, and editor of Fall River Development News, which you can find on Facebook. Kevin, how are you this week?
Very well. Glad to be with you, Keith.
All right. I actually want to start, I know you have told me many occasions that a lot of people like to see news about restaurants. Well, we're going to start with two restaurants this week. One is O'Gill's. That has a history in Fall River that's sort of changing a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, that's an iconic restaurant at 915 County Street in Fall River, a well-known Portuguese establishment. It's been in business since 1991. They have a buyer. The property was up for sale. They originally wanted to convert the entire building into apartments, but that's no longer the case with the new owners. We learned at the licensing board meeting in February that O'Gill's will close at the end of this week. If you're watching right now, it'll close at the end of the month in February. And the new owners plan to open a new establishment up in the same spot in the months of April or May, pending the sale of the property. It still hasn't closed yet. It's pending. It's been held up by some estate issues, but that's going to move forward, and they plan to reopen using the same recipes as O'Gill's. There may be a name change, but they plan to offer the same cuisine as O'Gill's. So that's some good news.
Yeah, so if you enjoyed O'Gill's Portuguese cuisine, you're going to hopefully get the same thing when the new restaurant opens up in a couple months. Yeah. The other restaurant that is making news is Morgan's Cantina, and it looks like they've got a new structure that I've seen photos of that you've shared with me.
This is at 1 Ferry Street, which is the home to the Borden Light Marina, also the Tipsy Seagull Restaurant and Pier 52. The entire property is owned by Michael and Nicole Lund, and they're adding a third restaurant to their other two. It's going to be called Morgan's Cantina. They're going to offer handmade, authentic Mexican cuisine and fresh craft cocktails. This is going to be an upscale Mexican restaurant, the kind you would see in the cities of Boston and Providence, a little more upscale than the fast food type of Mexican restaurants we have mainly in the Fall River area. So they're planning to employ up to 30 people, full and part-time. And the restaurant space is primarily on the second floor of this new structure. It's been totally rebuilt. It's going to be 2,000 square feet in size. It's also going to have a 375 square foot outdoor deck for the summer months. So this is going to be a nice addition to the Fall River waterfront and the dining options along that stretch.
Yeah, so it'll be another, there's a lot going on there, year round, but especially in the summer, right? You talked the Tipsy Seagull and Pier 52, and now this is going to be quite the restaurant row there. Of course, you got the Tipsy Toboggan nearby, which is, primarily an indoor restaurant open this time of year. They have outdoor dining.
Yes.
Even this time of year, the Tipsy Toboggan. So a lot happening in that neighborhood. So that's great. And finally this week, we're moving. We've got an update, if you will, on something that we talked about a few weeks back in terms of a mixed use property that's going to be going up in the Bedford Street. I believe it's Bedford and 7th Street area of Fall River.
We learned some new information at the February Fall River Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. The structure is going to be a 5-story building, a mixed-use building. This is at the former spot you may remember it if you're an old Fall Riverite like myself and you, Keith. Canton's Clunkers Used Cars was there on Bedford Street, and Geronimo's Collision Center. This is at 295 Bedford Street and 57th Street. So there's this 5-story building that's going to go up there. On the ground level is going to be an 8,000 square foot adult daycare center. And the remaining 4 floors are going to be market rate apartments. It's going to be a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. The property will feature 74 off-street parking spaces, and the building will also feature a community room as well as a fitness center for residents on Bedford Street. And this is owned by Cadero Properties, by the way, and he's a prominent local developer who owns many renovated properties in the downtown Fall River area.
Yeah, so it'll definitely make that area of Bedford Street look a lot different than what it does right now in some ways. It'll be the newest structure, obviously, in that area. And just so, again, a better reference, this is sort of across the street from where, like, the Salvation Army is, that part of Bedford Street?
Yeah, Salvation Army and Primacare on Pleasant Street. If you're looking towards the south, it's in front of the big Primacare building, adjacent to Pleasant Street, and then the next block over is Bedford Street if you're looking at it.
All right, we invite you to check out Kevin's work on Fall River Development News on Facebook. Please give it a follow, and you'll get a lot of this information. And we're happy for Kevin to share it with us. All right, Kevin, we'll talk again soon. Take care.
Thank you, Keith.
Hi, welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. Today we have Popcorn. Even though he's not popcorn in appearance, he's very bouncy, very animated. He's only a year and 7 months. He is a poodle mix, so he's got plenty of energy. We're trying to look for a home that has children 12 plus, just because he is so animated. And he can still be a puppy mouther and whatnot. So we don't want to pair him with any young children. Yeah, he is a very good boy. He just needs his basic training. He needs somebody that's going to definitely be on top of his exercise, making sure he's getting this energy out. So if you're interested in Popcorn, you could always come down to Forever Paws Animal Shelter at 300 Linwood Street in Fall River, Massachusetts. You can also give us a phone call at 508-677-9154. We look forward to hearing from you. Today we're showing you Nadja. That's Nadja. She actually came to us a couple months ago as a stray cat. We discovered that she was pregnant, and she actually gave birth to 5 kittens. And she is now just waiting for her special home. Older children, 12 plus would probably be just fine too. Young kids, like 5, that sort of thing, she may not tolerate their attention. But she is otherwise a very, very sweet cat. She very much likes her attention. She's very good with adults. She actually does not care for other cats. She would have to be a cat-only home. If you'd like to come and meet her, you can come down to 300 Linwood Street in Fall River, Massachusetts at Forever Paws Animal Shelter. You can also give us a phone call at 508-677-9154.
That's all for this edition of FRC Media News. Please visit our website, frmedia.org, for more local news and information. FRC Media News airs Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Fridays at 5:30 p.m. on Channel 95, as well as the Fall River HD channel located on Channel 1072. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next Thursday.